It is a pleasure as always. Welcome everybody back to another episode of the weekly FreudenFreude. Hi, I'm Claudia and this is...
I am Sandra. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. This is actually another episode in our resilience series. And go and check out the other ones that are available already or will be available in the future if you tune in at a later point in time. So, Sandra, we are coaches.
Yes, we are coaches. We're going to get it eventually.
Yeah. So I do work with corporate leaders, entrepreneurs, as well as their teams in tech and beyond.
And I am an expatriate coach and executive coach for everybody out there in the community and for the, let's say, the ones that have a challenge in concentration. I'm still working on that term, so we'll get it right next time.
You just keep on practicing.
There you go.
Practicing. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. So today, oh my God, when you think about resilience, maybe you got the feel of that during our last episode. Thank you. It's lessons for us in any case. It's just episodes. You realize so much goes into resilience. What is resilience, and what are all the many aspects that factor into it? We just picked one today, tough choice to make, and we will be talking about redefining failure. Redefining failure. What made you agree with my proposition, Sandra?
Oh my gosh, isn't it failure something that we wake up already feeling because you probably didn't do something the day before? I mean, really, you wake up already saying, oh my God, I woke up late, or, I didn't do this, or I didn't do that, or, oh my God, I didn't complete last or yesterday's work. I mean, you already wake up feeling a failure.
Yeah,
and you go to sleep.
I did use the 10 more minutes of sleep I thought I wouldn't be taking. Yes. And in the end, if that's the way that we approach our day, or we start the day already, it's like, I don't remember the name of the character, but in Charlie Brown, there was this character always with the cloud over his head. It was always raining on the poor guy and only on him. Yeah, but it's kind of your relationship with failure and with what it means to fail is going to just impact your everyday life, and by extension the big things in your life that happen incidentally by building up many small everyday things. Okay. So do you have maybe an anecdote to share, Sandra, about, maybe sometime where you had or wanted to redefine failure?
Yes, I think the story that I always go back to is, school, probably. Not having that good memory, not being able to remember things as good as I used to. But here's the thing, for me, it was a transition. Like when I was little, I know something had to happen. I probably fell and bumped my head or something at some point in my life, because I remember I was a very smart kid, okay? And then I don't know if this happens to somebody else in the world, which I'm pretty sure it does. You start feeling more distracted. That would be like for the distracted expats and the distracted executives out there, that would be me, because I'm an expert in distraction. And being able to refocus and then what happened, I don't know, but I'm telling you, at some point, even in college, in uni, I don't know how I did it. I would be able to talk with my friend and then listen to the teacher. And then when the teacher would think I was talking, I would be like, okay, Sandra, what is that I just said? And I would repeat to them and they would be like, okay. But something after the age of 26 through now, just suddenly
All
just start.
downhill from there.
Exactly. Yes. And I don't know, you know what I think it is? Responsibilities.
Oh yeah. And responsibilities and two things that I always come back to, and I say those words pretty much in every episode: assumptions and expectations.
Oh,
It's the way that we manage our assumptions and the way that we manage our expectations,
yes.
right? We assume everybody else has it so together, and we
Mhm.
expect that we have to have it together just so.
Yes.
Right. And you know, responsibility is one of those expectations,
Yes,
incidentally,
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Where you all of a sudden you expect of yourself, or you have expectations imposed by others that you accept, that things
Yes.
have to happen a certain way, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then what happens if they don't? Then
Uh-huh.
you have the big failure sign in the sky with red blinking lights, and yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because then you start comparing yourself to the others, right? And
Right.
that's when you start like, oh, why am I not like that person? Or I would like to be with like that person. And you try and you push yourself. And then as much as you try, you can't because you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And so I think the comparison part, the like you say, the expectations of you go to your first job and you're like, I'm going to be like superstar. They're going to give me a prize, in the Christmas party, I'm going to receive the prize and they're going to call my name like the best employee. And yeah, you imagine all these things are going to happen. And then suddenly you get your annual review and like, no, you performed like crap.
Yeah. Then your boss, like gets all upset at you that you didn't meet quota or something like that.
KPIs, yeah, exactly.
So
So,
and the thing is, it's very interesting also to know that some of these expectations of what success looks like, and therefore by extension what failure looks like, can very much be set by the outside world, right? I mean, when you're in the job world, you have your KPIs, and if you don't reach them, you failed, right? If you don't perform the contract, you failed.
yes,
If you do YouTube content and people give you a million thumbs downs, well, then maybe you failed with that one particular video. But the thing is this, sometimes it's much more innocuous like that. And that's why I always think about it also as a purely inner game. Okay, so I play the piano. Okay.
okay.
I learned, not so much anymore right now, but I learned as a kid, however I could. We didn't really have many opportunities here where I live to go to conservatory and things like that. But I learned the basics, and I got to an advanced intermediate kind of stage of playing, with the idea that yes, at some point in my life I would break that threshold and be able to come really good and play like the really big repertoire. Okay. And it's like there's this place that you get to, and then there's this huge thing.
Yes.
And to get to that next level just requires so much, and daily practice and dedication and good teachers and all that kind of stuff. So I got kind of stuck at the middle stage.
Okay.
Mind you that I can still play a pretty mean Beethoven and things like that. It's not, I just can't play, certain, big repertoire pieces, but
Yeah.
for my own enjoyment, I played well. But at some point, I had to give up on the idea that even that I could maintain, because I'm working hard. at the end of the day, you don't have the energy to practice for an hour, so you don't. And over time, over years of this kind of thing, you lose what little you had in the beginning, even. So if I were to still think about big repertoire, or if I was still able to think about repertoire I played 20 years ago, I would consider myself a failure. And I would lose the taste of being able to play the simpler pieces for enjoyment really well. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah,
it's not a failure. It's just an understanding that my context has changed, that my effort that I put in has changed.
yeah.
And you know, who says that I have to play those pieces to be successful? Nobody listens to me play except my dad downstairs and my husband and my kiddies now, right? It's like, it doesn't really matter. But if in my own head, I have this idea that unless I play that and that and that piece at concert level, to use a big term, then I would not play at all anymore, frankly, because I'm so far away from that right now. But
Yes.
I sit down, I play simple Bach pieces, I play, some simpler sonatas, and hey, it's all good. It's all good.
Oh my God, imagine that. I would die just to be able to at least play Jingle Bells, with the piano. That would be success for me. So, it's the perspective. It's what one has, the other one wants. And and I'm not being conformist. What I'm saying is that, a piano is such a beautiful thing, right? But each one, based on what you did growing up, that's what you have done. That's what you do. And that's how you've become the Claudia that you are today. So therefore, you want to be good in everything. And then I see you, I'm like, oh, she plays piano. Do you know how many people I've met here in Saudi Arabia that play piano a lot? And I feel a failure compared to them. So again, it's just a matter of perspective,
That's the point exactly, right? That it is very much our inner expectations, our wants, right? Our wants, not our obligations, but our wants, our desires that can lead us astray in very bad ways, because you get because you couldn't do this one thing, all of a sudden you as a whole person might feel as a failure, rather than in that one particular aspect of an endeavor that you couldn't reach, right? Because there's this gap, and this gap, the wider this gap is, the bigger our discontent and the bigger our sense of failure. So there's two things that we can do, right? As good engineers, we can close the gap from that way, like bring your expectations down, or we can from that there bring your effort up. Right? And if you bring your effort up and your expectations down, there's still a gap. Live with it. Some gaps you cannot fully close. Sometimes you can't to this pinnacle of perfection that you want to go after, right?
Yes. Let me tell you something. I don't know how it's relative to this, but I just thought about it. Okay, hear me out. So I've been watching, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you sit down and you watch those criminal shows on Netflix. I binge on that stuff. Okay. So I was watching, my husband gets worried. He's like, don't get any ideas. And I was watching the one that says I'm a killer. And there's these people that are very dangerous. They've actually killed people. That's why they're called I Am a Killer. And sorry about that. And and when you hear them. You hear them before they were incarcerated, and you hear some lack of knowledge and understanding. But once they're interviewed by the TV, by Netflix, they are the best well-spoken people, some of the best well-spoken people that I've heard. Why? Because they have the time to read, to sit down, educate themselves during prison time, because some of them have like lifetimes. They have life terms to serve. And so what's left to do? Educate themselves. And I was wondering, oh my God, if we could at least dedicate 10% of our time to reading, if more people would dedicate their time into reading, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like I was hearing them and I was like, I don't know that word. I mean, I swear to God, and I had to be looking certain words up. I'm like, these people sound so smart because they've had the times to even graduate law titles, law titles. And it's impressive. And you're like, so sad that you're in prison because you're a very smart person. And you think about the wasted talent. Anybody would say that maybe at some point he was a failure, but forced due to circumstances, right, created by himself. I guess it just depends on how you see it. I don't see him as a failure as a person. I see him like he succeeded in something that he never or she never thought that they would ever achieve in their life.
The not knowing what you don't know is really a thing, and I think that unfortunately a lot of people are too impacted by what others think.
Mm-hmm.
Are not self-responsible and are too easily swayed by the popular opinion and by peer pressure and things like that.
Well, that's what we're seeing now, right?
I mean, it's just a human trait to want to be part of the group and to be in the group that we live in and things like that. And some people are just dealt different hands than others. And but yeah, I mean, your point about reading more, maybe instead of reading, I would say studying more or learning more, because learning takes many different forms, reading, podcasts, self-reflection, journaling. It's learning and integrating knowledge, or just thinking about this thing that I just heard or read about, how does it fit in my life, and all these thinking things, but really this self-improvement, let's just say it like that, self-improvement. And would be really powerful, because I really do think that we would live in a different world, because I think what is sometimes lacking is what I would call discernment, right? And so if everybody else is then telling you to come back to our topic of today, that you are a failure, can you discern whether or not that's a valid statement or not? Can you discern that? Like, can you back it up? And then do you have the strength within yourself to challenge that statement? Excuse me, when somebody tells you you're a failure, like, like, give me specifics. In what way do you think I'm a failure? Right? Don't just take it as gospel when somebody says that.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, thank you. I was just thinking about how we grew up, Claudia. We I remember I just thought about when for 1 year I studied in Mexico City, and those teachers, oh my God, it was savage back then. I don't know how we survived. This teacher, she was mean. She would tell you you were a loser. They would spank you and they would do all these kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, well, a lot of it of how you feel, how you can define yourself, how you see yourself, I'm sorry, is based on the people that surround you.
Oh, yeah.
right? And if somebody tells you nowadays at our age you're a loser, I'd laugh. Like I
Like,
exactly I would.
excuse me?
Excuse me. Exactly, because it's not even worth my thought,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. I would turn around, look at them, and say, "You certainly are entitled to your own opinion. Yeah, just go on your merry way."
Yeah, exactly. Because you know, we've defined failure in a whole different perspective. We talked about this in one of our prior videos, and we said that failure should be more like an adaptation or reflection, right? A reflection of what went wrong and what you can improve and what can change or what you can do based on reflection.
Yeah, like the whole idea, and I think that, and we'll talk more about that particular topic in the future, but this whole idea of growth mindset, right? Like two things about failure. A, it's bound to happen. If you try
Mm-hmm.
something, guess what? You can't live your life without it. Is bound to happen. It's a very, very normal thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is it's how you think about it. How do you think about it? And the growth mindset way of thinking about it is a learning opportunity. It is a
Definitely.
piece of data that I can, as you say, reflect on, that I can learn from. And I just figured out one way not to do it. Let's pull a
Exactly.
little Edison stunt,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the one thing that we can learn from now and not do again and adapt. That's where you
Mm-hmm.
got the word adaptation from. Adapt our approach. And then guess
Correct.
what? Maybe fail again and adapt again,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
so it is an integral part of thing, and it is an opportunity for growth.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have it now here in Zoom, but if I could overlay in big, shiny, blinking letters, right, I would say failure equals opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity. It's a positive thing. It's not a
Yes.
negative thing. Would we have preferred directly to go to where we want to go? Yes, granted. Okay. But it is nevertheless an opportunity for growth. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So do you have an example maybe that where you took something that could have been just a failure and turned it into an opportunity for growth?
Well, I could probably talk about again about the business, right? Us being coaches, but I think I've already talked about that enough. I can tell you, for example, that one of the things that I was lacking and was a little bit of empathy towards expats. Yes. And there was a discussion. I had a discussion with a friend of mine in Dubai. She lives in Dubai. And we had a conversation one day, and she told me, do you think that empathy is something that you can actually learn? And I told her, definitely. Why do I consider empathy a failure of mine? Because I didn't feel anything for other people that would do something wrong. In my eyes, I was like, well, what do you expect? That was always my thought, because I was very uh well, just to the point what it is. Let's not sugarcoat it. It is what it is. I was a very straightforward person, extremely, like, I don't know, very bad. I didn't feel much for people when they messed up. And I realized that that was a quality that I needed to develop. I had to understand if it was something that I could actually do. Because when an expat is telling you, my house burned, I need to go home and I need to fix my stuff, I'm like, okay, well, how many days do you need? 3 days, 5 days, you know, versus me thinking about the whole picture, what it means to lose your house, to check your family. I just didn't feel it. I was just, okay, just get it over with because there's work that needs to be done, right? That was my thought. And so I felt a failure every time because people were expecting for me to hug them, to show some empathy towards their situation, and I just could not do it. I really felt that. And so I developed it with a lot of meditation. I really put myself in that situation where I would say, okay, what is the problem here? What is that makes me be so straightforward? And I started realizing that, of course, the world is not going to revolve around me. That was number one. Number two,
Yes.
number two, you know, people are different in many ways. There's feelings are, there's good, kind people. I always felt that people were always against me. And I realized that it was just an idea. Like, again, coming to beliefs and habits and all these kind of things, I really thought that people were against me all the time. And then I thought it was just me. I'm like, wait a second, she's not out to get me. She doesn't hate me. Oh, she's a nice person, or he's a nice person, and so on and so on. So you start opening yourself up, right? And you give yourself opportunities. And then once you realize that there's people out there that care for you, that want to be your friend, that's when you're like, oh, okay, so they're worthy of my empathy. They're worthy of me feeling something for them. It's like, oh, the feeling constant is insecurity. Like you feel like everybody's hurting you. And
Yeah.
that's why, you know, you cannot develop empathy. But once you realize that the world is not out there to hurt you, you're like, oh, okay. And that was a success for me actually now.
I believe that. I believe that. First, yes, they're not everybody is out there to get you. And on the other hand, after you gave that some chance, you probably realized that even if somebody were, you would have the backbone and resilience skills to cope with it. Yeah. And it was just kind of getting out of your own way. That's a very big learning there. So thank you for sharing that. That's a good one. Yeah.
What about you, Claudia?
Well,
Share.
Failure. I think that it wasn't really, again, that much of an external failure than maybe a change of direction. Yeah, you go down the path and then you have to majorly change. So when I was in college, I was enrolled because I was moving things along quickly.
Okay.
In 5 years, I got 2 bachelors and 1 master's. It was kind of this whole
combined
thing, right? So my bachelor's are in mathematics and computer engineering. And for my master's, I started taking courses in electrical engineering, but essentially it was signal processing and information processing, that kind of stuff. And I realized halfway through my master's, or those, courses towards the master's, that I really didn't like that stuff.
Okay.
For me, it was just too much math, and you design these systems by solving integrals and stuff. And it's not really I never had the sense of what it would be like in reality and things like that. So my master's is still in electrical engineering, but a lot of the elective courses I took in computer engineering. Right. And so when I graduated with this whole bunch of degrees, I actually started working as a computer engineer. So even though my master's is in a completely different area, I went back to myself and I said, I just learned that I do not want to be a signal processing engineer. I do not want to do that. It's not my kind of thing. I realized that the computer engineering bit is really what I want to do, and I excelled at it. I loved that stuff. Okay. And
Okay.
went on to work for some really established big companies. So I think that sometimes we shouldn't be concerned with taking a step back and really allowing us to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for all intents and purposes, people could think you got an advanced degree in this information processing, senior processing kind of thing. I was working with compression algorithms and all that stuff. And now you're telling me that that's not what you want to do. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and you could take this as, oh, it's a waste, but no, it isn't, because out of the many courses I had to take for the masters, I took quite a number of them for computer engineering, and even if you don't use the knowledge, that theorem, that technique, your brain still got trained. You still learn to do different things, because guess what? My math degree is long gone, right? I mean, I did that. To this day, not one day goes by in business, in coaching, in whatever, where that brain that I trained through mathematics and through rigorous engineering training and things like that does not come to help. What's
I'm
the
sure.
range of this? What are the cross products? What are the outliers? How do I summarize it? What's really going on here? What's the systemic view of a team in an organization? It's like second nature to me. Okay. And being very, very organized in how I approach things. So even though I'm a very different person now and I have studied a lot of different things, I still leverage the benefits of having done those studies then.
Yeah.
You understand?
But
it
yeah.
wasn't a failure. It wasn't a failure. I learned a lot from it. And because I was able to accept these learnings and do this reflection, my life went on in, certain very nice directions in the end. Right? Rather than I have that master's, now I have to use that master's because it's
yes.
And what would my parents say? What would my colleagues say? What would my teachers say? And I'm like, what, people, hey, computer engineer here. So
that's true. That's something, it brings me to my head. It just comes to mind that you're a very logical person, right? And logic, sometimes what logic takes you is to say, it's either A, B, and that's it. Okay, which it normally is, right? In computer science, it's A, B, and yes or no, period. That's it. Right? And so for me, I'm thinking, didn't that kind of put you at some point in a situation where you were challenged by the thought of caring for people? Because in coaching, we have to care.
Yeah, I think that I have, no, actually it hasn't, because I think I'm a very personable person, and I'm a people person. That's what I am. I'm just a people person, and so even though I have this part of my brain that is very logical and stuff like that, I have this whole other part of my brain that is art and music and people and gray zones. Yeah, not black and white, but all shades of gray and sprinkle in some red and all that kind of stuff. So I think that it's also my personality. Maybe if I had stayed in a very rigorous academic framework of mathematics all the time, all day, every day, maybe I couldn't have liberated my people person side as much. But being out, being a consulting engineer, being in corporate sales, being all over the place, and that I'm not a coach because I'm logical. I'm a coach because I embrace this other part of myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I actually thought that, especially mathematics, okay, that's different from computer science where everything is really just so, but mathematics
Right.
teaches you the the breadth of the infinite possibilities. It is actually a very opening science, right?
Very, very nice to see.
It is like, you know, you have 0 and 1, but then you have all the numbers in between,
Okay.
infinitely many, so many you can count, infinitely many. And so I think that mathematics as a whole is, yes, there's a right and a wrong way, yeah, because either true or false, proof is right or wrong. But on the other hand, it allows for color. Mathematics allows for a lot of color and a lot of imagination. And so computer science is a little bit more clear cut in that respect. But then again, you know, if you look at artificial intelligence, how we're just being you know, able to experience it in the last few weeks here, and see that as part of computer science, there you also see that it's not clear cut at all. So we are living in truly exciting times. So no,
that's true.
my answer is no, not too logical for my own good. Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's good, because I mean, really, sometimes you know, the knowledge and the understanding that we have of what coaching means for a lot of people, I think it's you know, we don't have, clearly we don't have the experience of a psychologist, psychiatrist, you know, and all that kind of stuff. We do listen.
We do have a different one, okay, and that also again is it's a feature and not a bug. Yeah. Okay. Let's table that discussion for some other time. Put it on our possible topic.
Well, the thing is, you know, FreudenFreude. Okay, here's the thing. This is what I was thinking about before we got on the call. I was thinking, how is it possible that children succeed so easily when they're little, right? And I mean, some, right? And others have a little bit of a harder of a time, but either way, everybody learns how to either crawl, get up, you know, walk, then run. Why? Because there's always somebody back there cheering you on. And that's why I said before, the definition of failure is dependent on the people that surround you. Now, I know that we're not in that stage where we're going to say, yay, Claudia, you did this right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yes, Sandra, of course.
Yes, but you know who will? Your mom. Your mom will, yeah, because you will always be her little girl, and or daddy's little girl, depending on who, or your aunt. Somebody's always going to be cheering you on. And as you grow up, you know, you start putting value on things, on having trophies and on getting the certificate, versus before it was a success that came from within you. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it was something that came from within you. Being able to walk, being able to talk, that was something that was within you. And the motivation was that you were able to achieve it. That was the motivation. And then
you had this so incredible desire to interact with the world.
Exactly.
To run after the pussycat through the apartment, to ask your mom for some food, more than just screaming, but saying, you know, that food, not that food. And I think that we had this absolute clarity of the goal we wanted to achieve. And so what if we failed 200 times? We fell on our bum 200 times. The words that we used were not understood by the adults because they were the wrong words. We tried 1,000 times, and it was never conceived, it was never seen as failure. It was a natural part of the process. And it didn't deter us of this desire to reach that goal. And that I think ties into, and I hope I didn't cut you off now, but that ties into this idea of resilience, because yes, we're talking about failure, but the overall idea here is resilience. It's what do we do not to let these perceived, really perceived failures stop us? How do we keep on going on? How do we
the same as we did when we were little?
Right. Be clear about where you want to go, and normalize failure. It's a normal part of the process. Some failure stings more than others. Yeah, we all get that.
Yeah.
Have a good cry, and then tomorrow get back to work.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Right, but don't let it affect your self-worth. Yeah. And I mean, don't we all know of cases of the truly great business people of our times that it wasn't their first business that succeeded?
No, exactly.
They failed, they tried something else, they failed again, then they tried it, and all of a sudden it worked. And it didn't work just because of this fifth attempt. It worked because they learned from those 4 attempts previously that didn't work out, and still had the backbone and the self-concept and the drive to try this 5th time.
Yes. Yeah?
That's resilience. It's like, don't let that first time you get beat down, second time you get beat down, and the third and the fourth time and you get beat down. It's like, nope.
Yep.
Resilience. Yeah.
Today on LinkedIn, I read 2 stories. One of them, I guess I should just say it because it's an interesting story. Whether it's true or not, there was a debate. You know, all the comments, everybody has something to say. Everybody knows something. This was the story about KFC, Colonel Sanders, the guy that built the empire with the Kentucky Fried Chicken. And they were talking about how many times he failed in life. So many times. Everything he wanted to achieve, everything he, let's say, band, the school band, he was never accepted. Something about the teachers, he failed math, he failed in insurance, selling insurance, life insurance, cars, everything. And then, kind of general, because I don't remember very well the story. The thing is that he failed in many things in life. His marriage failed and everything else. And then as soon as he got divorced, he thought about his life and he said, well, what's the one thing I haven't tried? And he said, cooking. So, yeah. So based on a, yeah, exactly. How funny, right? It's just to say, well, hell, I'm just going to try this. That would be nice. He says that they say that he had a recipe from his grandmother, I'm sorry, and he tried it and he started selling house to house, and then later people started ordering, and that's how the empire grew. But then I'm thinking, okay, that's fantastic. But then somebody was saying that no, not necessarily came from the grandmother, that there was this other lady. But then again, it comes to the same thing. You don't achieve success by yourself, and you don't fail by yourself, right? There's always something. And the thing is, for Colonel Sanders, he tried and tried and tried, and he was a billionaire by age 88.
Right.
I was,
how many have baskets full of old family recipes that we never try and never make anything with? Right?
Yes, the simplest things.
The question is not, did he have this spectacular recipe or not, but, did he do something with it? That is what the focus should be. Did he do something?
Exactly.
Because
I mean, he could have well killed himself with all the failures that he had in his life. Let's be honest. There's people, and especially in that time, If a man could not bring food to the table, that was something really big. Okay.
Still,
It meant that you were not man enough and all these kind of ideas. And so, but he still persisted, you know, same as politicians. They fail until they get the formula right, and then they are in Congress, right? Friendships, we fail in friendships sometimes. Sometimes we know what we have to do, but we just don't do it.
yeah.
And then you can fail in friendships, you fail in relationships. There's so many spaces in life that we fail, but the point here is to say, is this a learning experience? And how many times do you have to fail to learn something? God knows. God knows, but the thing is, you learn from it. Some people don't learn from them. That's the problem. Some
And
people
what's
don't.
the alternative? What's the alternative? You just crawl into the corner and just sit there. No, but that's what some
And some,
people do. It's right.
yeah.
Unfortunately, there is potential until you take your last breath. Everybody has some potential. Okay,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's like, but it's like, and then it's here's like a mental fallacy that very often happens. You fail at one particular thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then you think you are a failure and you're never going to figure it out. Here's a very, very simple example that maybe some folks can relate to. You flunk a math test.
Who hasn't?
Flunk a math test. It is just like bad. And you say, I am so bad at math.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always going to be bad at math.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just bad at math. But no, person, okay, you had a bad grade in one math test.
Mm-hmm.
About this one area of math, because math has so many things to geometry and calculus and one test in one area.
Okay.
You weren't feeling well the day of the test. Maybe you didn't study quite as much as you should.
Honesty, exactly.
Yeah. And so you have to contextualize your failures. It was this one behavior, this one result, and not fall into the trap of making it about the whole person. Not when you talk to yourself, but also not when you talk to others. Just because other people made a mistake or had a failure, that you say you are worthless. No, you made a mistake in this one particular area. Conceptualize. I think that's a huge tip to be aware of and not fall into this trap of judging the person instead of to make the mistake of judging the person instead of judging the context and that specific outcome. Yeah, but a lot of people do. I'm so good at math. I'm never going to be good at math. Yeah, I have heard that. I tutored math for quite a number of years, and I tell you, I've heard it all. And parents, my mother was so good at it, and I have to just tell this anecdote because it's so to the point. My mom was so convinced that girls are bad at math. Incidentally, she wasn't any good at math. She was more of a language person and music and art and math. But I grew up with this thing of girls are bad at math. There's no way that you as a girl can be good at math.
Okay.
And it made my math life difficult all the way through. I was maybe 15. I was struggling with math. It was like absolutely terrible until I realized and I will forever remember the day. It was the end of the school year. The teachers at that time here in Luxembourg, they gave they said the top three. They
Okay.
said that person number one, number two, number three. I was the third in the class. Mind you, I had the sense of myself that I was bad at math and that I was struggling and that it was difficult.
And you were third place.
And I
Wow.
was third place. So the year after that, I kind of checked it out a little bit outside of my mom's framework. And I realized how easy it was, how good I was at it, to the point that later I entered a specialized math and physics program in school. Yeah.
Girl.
And then I graduated from it. But I'm just saying, it's like sometimes these failures are failures of expectation and failures of belief.
Mm-hmm.
Failures
Mm-hmm.
of belief.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so
Yeah.
try to, whenever you say, I am not good at, or I will never amount to anything in this,
Mm-hmm.
stop yourself and ask, is it true?
Mm-hmm.
Is it
Exactly.
true? That's coaching 101. I mean, for anybody listening who might be struggling with certain areas where they maybe consider themselves a failure or they don't seem to be able to get traction, that's the kind of work you do as a coach.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was thinking when you were saying about math, oh my God, it's shameful. But your kitties okay? The kitties are okay?
So my husband started like considering making dinner. And so
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Okay, so you know that I'm also computer science. And I cannot believe that I studied computer science. You know why? I don't know my timetables. I have studied computer science if I don't know my timetables. And I remember that I was in uni, and when I was doing my master's, the teachers would just say, don't worry, that's why you have calculators. We're always going to have calculators. And so for me at the beginning, I remember when I was learning my timetables, parents back then, I'm not justifying my parents. Okay. Again, it's terrible to say, but parents not have the skills that parents today have. And so when I was learning my timetables, my parents were very strict, but I kind of understand because you can get desperate to say, I just told you what number it is, and you can't repeat it. Like that kind of scattered mind I felt. And you can imagine for a child how bad that is, right? When I didn't need to learn my timetables, I felt that I was the smartest kid. As soon as I had to learn my timetables, that's when time froze for me.
yeah.
And then one day, the day that I completely said, no, I'm never going to succeed in school, I'm never going to go to uni, was the day that my parents gave up and they said, what are we doing? This girl is never going to learn her timetables. She'll survive. And yes, I did until this day. If I think about it, I no longer see it as a failure. I laugh at it because, I mean, yeah, if I need math, yeah, thank you, I have a calculator. I don't worry about those things. There's always a way to see things in a different way, especially at our age. We were talking about that the other day, Claudia, where we don't see things anymore the way that a young person from 20 something to 37 would see it, or even 40 would see it. Now for us, it's like, whatever. I have options. Yeah, yes. I mean, that's the beauty of things. That's the beauty. Now I understand a lot of females in the past where I would hear them like, I'm at that age that I don't care, whatever. I was like, really, truly? Now I'm at my 50s almost. And I'm like, yeah, that's how we feel.
It's absolutely like that. It's absolutely like that. It's I think it's perspective. It's perspective.
Yes.
Yeah, and so so the fact that you know that failure is inevitable,
Mhm.
and you can frame kind of the context, and you can be much more accepting of yourself
Oh
as you
yeah.
do failures, much more accepting of just the happenstance that failure happens. And if
Mhm.
we take a step back, even, I think, or I would hope that knowing this will encourage folks to experiment.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
don't be so paralyzed by the prospect of potential failure
Mhm.
that you
Mhm.
don't even try, that you don't
Yes.
experiment, that you don't try to adapt slightly things that kind of work but not really, and so on.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
go put yourself out there and, you know, try it. I mean, I'm
Yes.
working on presentations that I'm going to offer as LinkedIn events sometimes in the close future. And for me, it's already part of my plan that I'm going to offer these things. I'm going to do best effort. I'm going to be prepared. But
Mhm.
the second and third installment of these webinars or these web meetings are going to be better quality
Mhm.
because of things that might not have happened perfectly the first time around. I'm not
Yeah.
going to consider it a failure. It is an integral
Mhm.
part of getting better.
Mhm.
You and I here with FreudenFreude, we had some episodes that were kind of a mess. Yeah, where it's like maybe we went off on a tangent a little bit, or
Yeah.
whatever. Maybe it wasn't as structured as we might have hoped. But guess what?
Right.
There's still good content there. There's still our best effort for that day,
Yes.
that
Yep.
context in there.
Mhm.
There's a
Mhm.
positive intention there, and we
Mhm.
learn from it.
Yes.
You and
Yes.
I, we meet once a week to discuss these things. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, correct. That is something also that I really learned that was very critical and important in the learning process. That it's not just enough for you to read or to learn something. It's that you want to discuss these kind of things with somebody. And I know that not everybody has somebody to discuss it with, but that's why now we have YouTube, right? That's why we also now have these conferences that you go to on LinkedIn where you can interact with other people. And I love that because you get perspectives from other people, and then you realize I was not the only one thinking that way, which
Yeah.
is also part of failure because you think you're the only one. And then when you talk with other people, you realize, oh my God, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Right. And so you don't feel so much of a failure because you know that somebody else understands you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think for me, what helped me correct that place where I was going, a little bit to the right, and help me center myself was that I said, I know I need to read. What do I need to start reading? And this is for everybody out there that said, oh my God, I understand what you're saying. I wish I knew what book, where to start. Sandra, where do I start? I would say that you just need to start with one book, something about self-improvement. It doesn't matter what level it is. It doesn't matter who's the author. Why? Because that book is going to take you to the right direction. As soon as you see that you're missing something, you're going to get into the Webster's dictionary and you're going to look it up and you're going to say, well, since I don't know that topic, now I need to learn about that topic. And you're going to go and get that book.
Get
And
the
so
ball rolling.
exactly. So
Just
you
start
start creating this
somewhere.
web.
Start
Yes.
somewhere. And you don't even need to start with a book. There's very good blog posts out there. There's very good content out there to get
Mm-hmm.
started. Find a reputable self-help person, and there's a
Yes.
number of very good ones out there. If you have heard of them, chances
Yep.
are that on their website there might have some introductory things, and see what resonates with you, and then follow up with that. Follow up with.
Yes. That also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, failure is not just in learning. It's like at work, you didn't know how to do something well, you go and look it up. You failed in a friendship, like I was talking about before. Well, okay, it's time for you to reflect, right? The part that we were saying, there's a lot of reflection that has to happen, and appreciation. What didn't you appreciate? What did you miss? What happened? What can you correct? So if you don't sit down and reflect on the things that have happened in your life, you're going to miss out on a lot of things.
Yeah,
Like Ferris Bueller says, if you close your eyes, you're going to miss it, right?
yeah. And you're bound even to repeat the same mistakes again, or
Yeah.
into the same kind of failure again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that all being said, there's so much that you can do. If this remains a persistent problem and you think you might need a little help, a little support, that's what coaches are there for, right?
Right.
So go to a competent coach, that you know, somebody in your area, or even get in touch with Sandra or I to really go and get some coaching done. That's our job, right?
That's correct.
Because resilience is a large part of being able to deal with the inevitable ups and downs in life.
Mm-hmm.
The way how we deal with failure is part of that. And we will have plenty more to talk about in terms of resilience topics. And we're going to do that every third week of the month. Is it? No, second week of the month.
Every second week of the month. Yes, yes. It's a little roadmap, right? We're following a little roadmap, and every single topic has a following. So we hope that it's making sense to the people that are watching our videos. We really hope that you've enjoyed today's show. I think, it's 9:04 here in Saudi Arabia. Okay, we're past the time today. I loved it, Claudia. Thank you so much. A
No, this
lovely
was great.
conversation.
I loved it, loved the anecdotes, and I like this focus on resilience because I think it's a fundamental part of how we become able to navigate life, and it's truly a pleasure. So everybody out there, subscribe to the channel, give us some love by likes and comments and things.
Yes.
We'd love to hear from you. So, get in touch or drop a comment in any of the videos and we will respond. Thank you so much, everybody. Sandra, this was fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Take care. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.